Carly, and we are back on the road with this old horse. I get to travel all over the country in search of the best stories about the most amazing horses, and I get to take you with me. Today, we're here in beautiful Colorado Springs, home of the legendary cutting horse sire, Color Me Smart. He revolutionized the cutting industry by establishing paint horses in the arena as equals. But the most extraordinary thing is the journey that brought him here. Craig Morris is probably one of the most well-known faces in the cutting horse world. As a nationally recognized world champion competitor, Craig was the perfect person to tell me all about the fascinating world of cutting. Craig, you are known as an expert in the cutting horse world. How would you describe cutting to someone that didn't know anything about it?
Well, I don't know if expert's a proper term or not, but you know, cutting derived from the ranching days, so it's a job. And the horses went in at that time, they utilized them to separate cattle and maybe for branding or for weaning, things like that, even for different ranches. So it derived into a sport the same way. So we go into a herd of cows, we separate the cow from the herd. The unique part about the cutting horse is that he does all this once you separate the cow on his own. So you put the bridle reins down and the horse reacts on his own and mimics the movements of the cow and helps hold it at bay, more or less, all by itself.
Yeah, it's so neat to think that, you know, like you said, it derived from, you know, working cattle. You know, it's a part of the culture and,
right.
And the fact that it is all the horse.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a prestigious thing because usually the boss rode the cutting horse because he was the guy that went in there and knew which cows were his and belonged to whatever ranch. And you know, in the cowboy code, the boss is the one who usually leads the drive, whatever the case may be. So he handled the most important job, which was sorting the cattle. And that happened on the cutting horse.
These horses are so athletic. They're amazing to watch. I know that there's a lot of thought process that goes into the breeding and the pedigree of them.
Right. Yeah, it's all about the pedigree. And these horses have been line bred now for, you know, close to 100 years to get what we know today as our modern day cutting horse.
What would you say it resorts back to?
Well, cow, for one thing. You know, if they don't have cow, they're pretty useless.
Describe that to me.
Yeah, so cow is the inherent sense that horse possesses to want to work and read a cow and pay attention to it. So a lot like what, you know, probably the most familiar thing people have seen maybe is a border collie dog working sheep. So the cutting horse is bred to do the same thing but with cattle.
That's an interesting analogy.
Yeah.
You know, you were saying you look for athleticism and cowiness, and that has to be coming from the breeding.
Yeah, it all comes from the pedigree.
How was Color Me Smart bred?
Well, Color Me Smart is a son of Smart Little Lena, who was, you know, at that time, the most famous cutting horse that we'd ever had and had the strongest progeny that was coming to be. His foals had won more money than anybody else has had. And especially the stallions looked like they were going to come on and be the next great breeding horses. So everybody at that time was looking for a Smart Little Lena foal. You know, this one happened to be colored up and had another unique quality about him that made him stand out from the other Smart Little Lena stallions, which was that he was a paint.
Sue Dunn Stevens has been riding since she was a little girl. A chance opportunity to breed Smart Little Lena with Doc's Painted Lady resulted in the birth of a legend.
There wasn't any horses in the APHA no one else was breeding them to compete in the NCHA and the higher level cutting horses. So that was what I thought I needed to do. Doc's Painted Lady was a superior athlete and very fluid moving mare, and so I just traded my Maserati to Bill Freeman for a breed, and that's where it all began.
So who did you choose to breed her to?
I bred Doc's Painted Lady to Smart Little Lena because I knew it would be a unique cross in the APHA, and the paint horses needed something of this quality to compete in the National Cutting Horse Association and with the higher elevated cutting horses.
And you really were right with that mix right there.
Yes, it worked. It worked very well.
What was the outcome?
Color Me Smart was the outcome, and because he was a stud, I was not in a position to promote him like he should be promoted for being the only son of Smart Little Lena that was a paint. And so I sold him at that time to George Jensen as a weanling.
The fact that Color Me Smart is a paint, I feel like paints are kind of unusual in the cutting world.
Yeah, they are, from the sense, you brought up a good point a second ago about it being so athletic. So, you know, and nothing against the breed organizations, but a lot of the breed organizations, especially when you focus on color, athleticism is not as important sometimes as color.
That seems strange.
It does if you're a performance horse rider. It doesn't if you're a breed person. So, you know, that's kind of where it went for a while in a lot of the different breeds who focused on color. Athleticism was not a main point when they went to look at pairing up a stallion and a mare. So, unfortunately, that created a horse maybe that was a little subpar athletically, especially maybe in the paints at some point. And so people kind of frowned on that for a performance horse. They were considered great for going out and riding in the pasture and, you know, your go-to-town horse that looked pretty and maybe was marked up and colored a little different than everybody else's and had something unique about it. But when it came down to a performance horse, the paints were not considered in the same league as a quarter horse or a thoroughbred.
From the moment George Jensen first saw a cutting horse work, he was hooked. When he heard about the birth of a little paint stallion out of Doc's Painted Lady and Smart Little Lena, he jumped at the opportunity. What was it about Color Me Smart that caught your attention?
Well, a whole bunch of things. First of all, he was a stallion. Second of all, he was paint. And he was the only paint son of Smart Little Lena ever. At that point in time, he was the only one. And Smart Little Lena was the hottest thing going. When we got Color Me Smart, we got serious, and we branded everything JR for Jensen Ranch, and we knew that was going to be branding on every horse that we produced.
What were your hopes for him?
Well, I had a lot of hopes, but the biggest hope I had is that he would cut.